Yeah, what's cracking, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Prison Break Raw. I'm your host, the one and only Big JD. Imagine for 1 second that I got on here with a 15-minute racially charged rant that I told you was backed up by scientific fact. I singled out this race over here. I told you that scientific fact says that they're subhuman, they're animals. They're ignorant. They're unintelligent. Why? Because look at the color of their skin. That tells you everything. Fact, scientific fact. What if I did that? What do you think would happen to me? At the least, I'd be banned from YouTube. At the most, I could get sued, arrested in some places, doxxed, swatted, maybe even physically assaulted or even killed. Somebody that looks like me could not come on and say anything like that. Plus, I would never say anything like that. Why? Because in my mind, racism is just a bunch of retardation. It's ignorance, it's fear, it's self-loathing, it's low self-esteem. It's all these things rolled into one. And guess what? Just like COVID-19, it's a virus that affects everybody on this planet, all races, to a lesser or greater degree. That's a scientific fact for you. If I can't do it, nor would I ever do it, then why would anybody else want to do it? And why would other people be allowed to get away with it? Nick Cannon, for example, this is kind of an old story, but it's relevant to the topic at hand because we are dealing with a growing ideology that is moving through what I guess you can call the alt-left, since now they're starting to dabble in racism themselves. Talking out of both sides of their mouth. Talking about racial equality on one end and racial superiority on the other. Let's get into what it is so you understand this. So you become completely aware of what's growing around you. No matter what side that you're on, you should be alarmed about all this shit. You should be concerned about white supremacy, but you should be concerned about any other form of racial supremacy that's coming down the walk. So Nick Cannon gets fired from Viacom. He goes on some retardation, ignorant, God knows what the fuck he was smoking, rant about how melanin in your skin, the darker it is, the more connected you are to God. Yeah, he said that shit. He also said that people with white skin are subhuman. White supremacy is this low self-esteem, fear of like strong black man masculinity. The thing that I told you about that I've heard before. That's how I know that this shit's growing, because I've heard this in several different directions now already. He went on and on and on. Nobody said nothing until the minute he said the Jews. And then he was done. A lot of people would applaud Viacom for that. I don't, because they're hypocrites. They didn't give a shit that he was saying anything about me or anybody else. They only cared about anti-Semitism. Hypocrisy right there. They didn't do anybody a service. They were fine and all fine and good with it until he said that. But let's take a look at what Nick Cannon was saying. Was he alone on that? Was that just something he just pulled out of his ass? After he smoked a whole bunch of crack or meth or God knows what he was doing. It must have been on fucking shrooms or something. Perks. Who knows what he was on? Molly? A lot of people would excuse it as just an individual rant of somebody that just has no idea what they're talking about. But guess what? It would seem that there's other people that are pushing the same ideology. Case in point, the co-founder of Black Lives Matter of Toronto. Let me read to you what she said so that you understand just how much this ideology is growing. So the co-founder of the Toronto chapter of Black Lives Matter organization wrote in a since-deleted Facebook post that white people are a genetic defect of blackness. Whiteness is not humanness. Yusra Kogali wrote, 2016. In fact, white skin is subhuman. She added that white people are recessive genetic defects. This is factual. White people need white supremacy as a mechanism to protect their survival as a people because all they can do is produce themselves. She continued, black people simply through their dominant genes can literally wipe out the white race if they had the power to do so. Kogala stated that white people have a higher concentration of enzyme inhibitors which suppress melanin production. She also added that melanin is important for a number of such things as strong bones, intelligence, vision, and hearing. She also tweeted in 2016, please, Allah, give me the strength to not cuss, kill these men and white folks out here today. This is acceptable behavior. Because if you try to challenge it, all the apologists will come to the rescue with all their rebuttals. Their endless supply of rebuttals, masked in a new theory practice of critical race theory that talks about white privilege, white fragility, white weakness, white man, fear of black male dominance and sexual prowessness and masculinity and all that stuff. That's all in critical race theory. You can't make that up. It's there. It's true. But remember what she said. This Yusra, whatever the fuck her name is. Her and Nick Cannon. They said one thing that really resonated with me. Subhuman. Now, I don't know how much you guys really know about eugenics. But let me break down eugenics to you in a nutshell of how it used to be practiced in the 1800s and the 1900s. It was finally stopped here in this country, but it was highly studied by Nazi Germany. The belief that darker-skinned people were subhumans. The belief that the Jews were subhumans. The belief that white skin is a symbol of godness and purity. A belief that white skin is like connected to the angels and connected to all things heavenly, and people of dark skin are connected to the devil and the underworld. A belief that dark skin basically inhibited all of these certain receptors in your mind that prevented you from becoming intelligent beyond just being able to tie your own shoes and speak. Eugenics also taught that skin color determined, like, you know, how far you would advance, how far your society, your people have advanced. And then if you do know how to speak, it's mimicking. That was the old school eugenics. It looks like eugenics has gotten a brand new facelift. A Kim Kardashian style facelift. This is racism to the highest degree. This is dangerous racism. This is the kind of racism that creates concentration camps and ovens and genocide and mass murder. Everybody should be alarmed about this. Because on one end, it is radicalizing a bunch of people to believe in this black supremacy or this black Nazism. On the other side, it's radicalizing a bunch of other people to fight this and create their form of eugenics and have their rebuttal science to counteract and counter-debate all of this science over here. So let's dig deeper into the eugenics of Black Lives Matter that Yusra and Nick Cannon is putting out there. They're talking about blue eyes, blonde hair, and all that stuff. It's a gene, a human gene called the HERK2. And actually, what creates blue eyes, green eyes, and stuff like that is the HERK2 being inhibited by an OCA2 mutation or inhibitor that creates like blue eyes and green eyes. Another thing they said that the darker the skin, the closer you are to God and the more intelligent you are. Well, one thing I think they forgot to include in all this scientific thesis they're putting out there is, what about albinism? Albinism is like a lack of melanin production that affects predominantly people of African DNA, sub-Saharan African DNA, and people in South America. So would Nick Cannon and this Yasra, co-founder of Black Lives Matter, be willing to suggest that people that have albinism in Africa are subhumans and animals and ignorant nothings because they have no melanin? No, I guess they didn't think that one through, did they? You see the level of retardation that's coming out of these people? Another one that they failed to really understand regarding the evolution of people and survival mechanisms and adapting to your environment and all these things. Nothing comes out of Europe originally. European people, white people that you see today, white people will call them, for the lack of not constantly calling them European Americans or Europeans, but white people, Caucasian type people. Why they're called Caucasian is because they originally migrated from the Fertile Crescent, the Caucasus region between the Caspian and Black Sea. They migrated up into the north, into Europe, southwest into southwest Europe, into northern part of Egypt, the Mediterranean, the Middle East, Persia, all the way to India. They're all considered to be Indo-European people. All their DNA and everything is connected to each other. White skin or a lack of melanin is more common in people the more north you go into Europe. Why? Well, there wasn't a lot of sunlight up there. It was mostly colder climate, a lot of harsh winters, and living up there for so long, you didn't need to produce that much melanin. A lack of enough UV rays to give you vitamin D that you need. The Northern European ancestors of all white people that are from that region started to take in a lot of milk to get the vitamin D. That's why most people of European ancestry can drink a lot of milk and a lot of other people can't. They're lactose intolerant because they don't need it. Skin color has nothing to do with intelligence or anything. Actually, the one thing that really that kind of inhibits intelligence is the culture of whatever environment you come from. If this tribe over here, all their village leaders, chiefs and whatnot, and wise men are telling everybody to just live off the land and don't try to advance in any form of science because it's against God, those people are going to be limited in intelligence, and they're gonna like basically inhibit like an intellectual growth or scientific growth or whatnot. It's the cultures in this planet that have always sought science, alchemy, understanding the soil, and cultivating crops and all these things like that. Those are the people that actually became more intelligent. Has nothing to do with skin color, because you have people all over the world in different spots that have had some advanced civilizations at one point in time or another. But now, like I said, we're back into this eugenics. And it's dangerous for all of us. It's the stupidest fucking thing I ever heard. Because I got to tell you, the biggest thing of eugenics when the Nazis had it was the subhuman. Here we are, we're hearing subhuman all over again. Somebody's calling me a subhuman because my skin color is light. Despite the fact that I got about 136, almost 138 IQ, means nothing. I'm a subhuman. I'm a low self-esteem little man, and I'm afraid of some dude's strong sexual prowessness and masculinity. Okay, buddy. Whatever you got to tell yourself at night to sleep. I've seen a lot of people, man. I've seen a lot of ignorant people in all races. But this right here takes the fucking cake. I really hope a lot of yous out here are starting to take notice to a lot of this kind of stuff. People need to start having a spine and start speaking out against this kind of bullshit. So many people are caught up in this guilt and this shame of everything that they don't want to speak up on this kind of stuff until it's too late. And next thing you know, you're sitting in a fucking concentration camp molding fucking bars of soap out of your brother because they already executed him and gassed him and did whatever and used his fucking fat to create bars of soap. They're going to turn you into a lampshade. They're going to do all these things. That's what eugenics leads towards. A purge, a genocide of the next people because this superiority complex kicks in and you have to crush the subhumans around you because you don't want them polluting your DNA. Does that sound familiar? Does anybody know anything about Hitler and eugenics and Nazi Germany? Have we forgotten about the concentration camps? I'm all in favor of racial equality. This is not racial equality. This is racial supremacy. Call it for what it is. I am. You can do what you want with this. But I promise you this. If it comes down to that where there's a bunch of brown shirts with red armband people rolling down the street, I'm going to fight to the death. You ain't taking me to no fucking concentration camp. Fuck what you talking about. We'll see how much fucking strong masculinity I'm afraid of, motherfucker. You come at me with that shit. This should outrage everybody of all colors, though. Just like it outraged people of all colors what they were doing in Nazi Germany. This shit ain't no different. But once again, you're free to make up your own mind. You already know what it is, and you heard it right here. Prison Break Raw, uncut, uncensored, no holds barred, not sugarcoated, not politically correct, all up in your face, slapping you with that dick of reality. And I'm out.